Ravens Wrap is sponsored by Bud Light, Holiday Inn Express, the Ocean City Golf Club, Comfort Inn, Russell Street Report, the original Green Turtle, and hosted by the Blue Ox Bar and Grill.
In April 1959, Art Wall won the Masters, edging out Carey Middlecoff and Arnold Palmer by finishing birdie, 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 par birdie. 1 month later, Ocean City Golf Club celebrated the opening of their first 18 holes. That course has been transformed now into one of the most scenic golf layouts on the East Coast. Come experience 36 of the most beautiful and challenging holes you'll find anywhere. Ocean City Golf Club in Ocean City, Maryland.
Edition of the original Green Turtles Ravens Wrap Show. Broadcasting here from the Ravens Room of the Blue Ox, 127th Street and Coastal Highway in Ocean City with Ravens News 44 and Ravens fans. Give yourself a hand. The Ravens Wrap Show is brought to you by, of course, our friends at the original Green Turtle, the Blue Ox, Bud Light, Comfort Inn Gold Coast, Geico, Ocean City Golf Club, jctickets.net, and the Holiday Inn Express. A very special program. We've got Ravens owner Steve Bisciotti, former University of Maryland basketball head coach Gary Williams, and guys, as we move along, I know we've got some bigger topics outside of the game to talk about from the 31-29 victory over the Dallas Cowboys. Big game coming up Sunday. That is at 1 o'clock. The Ravens and the Texans, two 5-1 teams going at each other, and the only two teams in the AFC with plus 500 records. We'll talk about the coming up in the next segment as we preview that game. Steve, I guess last year we had the lockout to deal with. That got taken care of, and we went forward with the season. This year we had replacement refs and that whole situation, which obviously was taken care of a couple of weeks into the season. But your thoughts during that whole time, and a resolution obviously came about.
Is this the fourth segment or the third segment?
Third.
Huh? I want to talk some Maryland basketball. Don't you guys want to talk a little Maryland basketball? Come on, we'll come back to us. Let's talk some Maryland basketball. I want to find out what you think about this team, what we're going to do here. I mean, it's upon us. We've already been through Midnight Madness. Let's talk some basketball for a minute.
All right.
Well, there you go. There we go. What do I know? I just know about what you know.
You're stuck. Let's go.
Well, I think what Mark Turgeon has done, he's come in there and he's gotten a group of players in the program now that are talented players, and some of them are young, but there is some experience. James Padgett, Pishan Howard, if he's back from his leg injury from last year. So anytime you're in a situation with quite a few young players, if you can get your upperclassmen to play with the idea that they really have to have the young guys. In other words, the older players have to have a lot of confidence in their ability because they're not afraid of the young players taking their playing time or whatever. So that becomes very important with your upperclassmen. And I think both those guys are good guys, Pishan Howard and James Padgett, and they will help the younger players. Now, they have a lot more size than they did last year. And, you know, Shaquille Clare was a player that we started talking to, I guess, my last year, his sophomore year down in Texas. And Mark did a good job. He was recruiting him when he was at Texas A&M, and when he switched to Maryland, Shaquille Clare came to Maryland. So that guy is a Lonnie Baxter type. I wouldn't put those expectations on anyone, but that's how he plays. He's a legitimate inside player who understands he's an inside player. Most inside players today want to prove they can shoot threes. So you got to start yelling the first day of practice to make sure you get in the paint, get ready, you know, you got to score in there. And if you have that inside scoring threat, I always felt that made a Steve Blake, a Juan Dixon better players because you couldn't extend as much as you might like to on those two guys because they were great scorers because you had to protect inside against a Lonnie Baxter or Chris Wilcox, people like that. And so I think that's what Mark's trying to do, is put together that combination of players. And, you know, he has a couple guys sitting out that are really good players, which will help in practice. In other words, the best part of that, Juan Dixon set out his first year when he came to Maryland. And that really helped our team because Juan played every day in practice that year like it was the NCAA championship, and that made us better as a basketball team. And then when he moved into next year, we were already at a pretty good level. So I think Mark's done a very good job. I think what has to happen now, the people have to get into Comcast Center, make that a very tough home court, and go from there, because in the ACC, you need every edge you can get. And I was very fortunate in Cole Fieldhouse and Comcast Center to have a great home court, so that must continue.
Talk to me about Alex Len.
Yeah. Alex Len is an international player, which means they're very good passers. You know, he's around 7 feet, very good shooter, but you have to develop the ability to bang a little bit to be tough inside. And he's gotten a lot bigger. I saw him one day in September, and he's really put on a lot of muscle.
They said like 25 pounds,
yeah,
right?
He looks good now. He looks like, you know, he can bang in the ACC. And once again, if you can establish yourself, and guys like that become, when you look like you're big and physical, you get away with more contact. We're talking about the referees again. They expect contact when you put big people out there on the floor. And that's what Lynn gives them. And a guy like Shaquille Clear and a couple of their other guys with pretty good size, certainly I think you'll see Maryland get the benefit of close calls, which they probably didn't get. Plus, Mark, when you're new in a league, and I went into the Big East, the Big Ten, and the ACC, that first year is tough because referees don't know you as well as when they get to know you. And of course, in my case, sometimes that was a bad thing after they got to know me. But for Mark Turgeon, I think he's really put himself in a good position to be successful, and that's what you have to do.
And then tell me about, don't worry about it, I got this. And
I did have a few Maryland questions, by all means.
Hey, Mike, welcome to the NFL.
So the next guy is Faust, local guy. He really did kind of look like he was a fish out of water in the first half of the year. Second half, he looked pretty damn good for a skinny
Nick Faust,
young guy.
out of Baltimore, has gotten bigger also. He is not the skinny guy you saw play last year. And what Nick has is something you can't teach. He's got that amazing step that takes you by people right away. And he's got that ability. The whole key to Nick's game as he progresses as a player, and he really had a good second half of the year, I thought, for a freshman in the ACC. His key is his ability to shoot the ball. If he can get consistent where you can't lay off of him. In other words, whenever we played against a guy who was really quick, the first thing we did defensively is make that player make a shot over top of us. We weren't going to let him drive by us and use his quickness. So once Nick starts to make a couple jump shots early in the game, then he becomes a much better player. And Nick is a very smart guard out there in the court. That experience he got last year will allow him to be, I think he's going to have a great sophomore year at Maryland.
Cool.
I was going to say, in big news, Rodney Peters, a four-star recruit out of Suitland, just signed. He wanted to play with the Terps the entire time, was being recruited by some big schools, Georgetown, Memphis, among others. That's a good pickup. And Evan Smotrich, who has to sit out a year, as I know you know, coach from Michigan, but he'll help in practice, as you talk about.
I did the Big Ten Network last year. I saw Smotrich play in person 4 times because I did the Big Ten tournament. And the guy's 6'8", he can really shoot. He didn't shoot as well the second half of the year, but that's not unusual for a freshman because teams figure you out. And the great thing about being a freshman, you got plenty of time to work that next summer to work on some things that now you know. Because most guys at that level in high school, they dominated. You know, they were the best players. Now he knows that it's not that easy. He's going to have to go work on some things. And from what I hear, he's working very hard.
Coach, let me take you back a little. When did you know Stevie Blake was going to be what he's become? I mean, there was a guy that early on he had trouble shooting the ball, was a good number 1, but I mean, I guess with the hard work and the determination and grinded through, and what a career he's had.
When I knew Steve Blake would be a good player was his first day on campus at Maryland. They were playing pickup games after our basketball camp in Cole Fieldhouse, and I'll never forget this. He was guarding Juan Dixon, and Juan, as I said, played every game like it was, you know, the championship game. And so Blake thought he got fouled. Juan wouldn't get him the ball. Next thing I know, those guys are throwing punches at each other. So then I knew then that Blake was tough. You know, he was a tough guy. And you don't want your guys fighting, but you do want your guys to stand up for what they think is right. And Blake became, if you remember, he became a starting point guard his freshman year and never showed any fear. He went into the championship year in 2002. He went into the NCAA tournament with the most assists of any guard in the country that year. And he was really responsible for a lot of the things we did offensively. And he's a tough guy, and he's still playing with the Lakers, and he has 2 more years left on a contract with the Lakers.
Yeah. Well, I know how tough it is to guard Juan Dixon in practice. It wasn't pretty for me at Calvert Hall.
Did you try to cover him?
I tried. Yeah, as best I could. We had to take 2, though, to do it. But
how come I don't remember you? I saw those guys play a lot.
Because he was by me in a flash.
He's a late bloomer.
Yeah. I'm just getting it out. But, well, I tell you, we'll see.
It's a tough group, baby.
Well, see, I take it by your response, we're going to move past the replacement referees. All right.
It's history.
They're all here. Stop embarrassing them.
I thought they showed up for the Orioles-Yankees series.
I'll talk about the replacement referees. Everyone thinks that the NFL is a juggernaut and they got all the cash in the world, and they held them up for ransom, and it was BS in my opinion. I'm sorry, and it went that way, but at the end of the day, we had to pay, and I didn't like it.
We've got about 2 minutes left in this segment. I know you mentioned Sandy Unitas is in the building. Drew Brees broke his record of consecutive touchdown passes. Well, I want to get to that. Well, Steve, I wanted to get your take on that, though. Obviously, it's a passing league. The record that Drew Brees has
ridiculous.
Now, it's not anywhere close.
It's stupid.
Right?
It's stupid. It doesn't. It's stupid. It's like saying 1,000-yard rushers. That used to be a big deal.
Right.
Now you're cut if you don't get 1,000 yards. Right. What Johnny did is ridiculous compared to what Drew Brees did. He's playing
much tougher back then.
He's playing pinball. I mean,
Seriously, just so you all
I'm
understand.
sorry, and you know that, and you're not going to say it to anybody, but it's a crime that a great.
True. I agree with that.
It's not the same. It's not the same.
Well, and just to go back, John started his record his rookie year. There was only 12 teams. Look at the corners that were playing. Look at the situation going on. The rules were much different. I mean, they were mugged downfield until the ball was in the air. I was a professional mugger, so I know. And it was all kinds. It was all kinds of great stuff. And Drew Brees had 10 one-yard touchdown passes.
Yeah.
Wow. What a thrill.
Wasn't the ball different back then? It's a thinner ball now that they use, right? You know this.
Could have been.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have been an
I
offensive
dropped so
player
many
if you
things.
wanted to be.
Dropped so many things, Coach. I don't know what.
It slipped through his hands too much for him to know what it
That's how
looked
they
like.
decide if you play defense or not. They throw you a ball. If you drop it, you play defense. Is that right?
We're back with more. Where's
my ESPN?
Ravens Wrap is sponsored by Bud Light, Holiday Inn Express, the Ocean City Golf Club, Comfort Inn, Russell Street Report, the original Green Turtle, and hosted by the Blue Ox Bar and Grill.
Welcome to the Comfort Inn Gold Coast. Conveniently located just 1 block from the beach and adjacent to shopping at the Gold Coast Mall and the movie theater. Newly renovated and open year-round with a marvelous bayfront view. Visit us on the web at comfortgoldcoast.com and see our hot deals and great golf packages, or simply call our direct reservation line to plan your stay.